Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today, I give to you the top 5 teams / best teams for the Holiday Cup. So, PV Pokes rankings updated today, so I wanted to make sure that video gets out along with the Ultra League remix tomorrow, so that way you have all this data to work with, just in case you want to know anything, or if there's any patterns, or these teams just look really familiar. So, as I always say, please consider contributing at pvpoke.com, as you see here. Now, my mental health tip for the day. Actually, it's probably well, here's the thing. With schools, and it's just a little bit of my experience. So, I'm a wrestling coach now. I went back to being a wrestling coach after getting contacted. So, if you haven't seen me streaming, that's probably why. I find more, of fulfillment being a wrestling coach, adding on my resume as a school therapist rather than streaming. Not saying I don't like you guys, but then this is a side gig for me. This isn't what I want to do full time. There's nothing wrong with being a full-time content creator, but the world doesn't need more full-time content creators. We need more clinicians. We need more mental health therapists. We need more freaking coaches out there, because I talked to one of our guys from Mount Diablo, Andy, and his wrestling program only has 2 coaches but 30 kids. So you need wrestling coaches. There's more value and fulfillment in teaching kids how to fight and to get that mental zone in their head of fight and flight rather than do this. So just putting that out there. Along with that, the pandemic has really destroyed athletic programs like mine. We have half of our kids that wrestle. So mental health tip for the day, don't let that stuff linger to you. Everything can be rebuilt. So as a clinician, as I tell my students, one of my clients was like this one at a time, oh, I'm not doing great at this, so I feel like quitting. Don't quit if you feel like you're not doing something. You can fix something. Besides, you love this. If you love Pokemon Go PvP, you can keep doing it, but you shouldn't make it to toxic positivity where you tell everyone your game is super great, yet we have Halo Infinite Land coming out, and they're just absolutely about to eviscerate and annihilate Pokemon Go PvP from the face of the planet and any other viewer that wants to see it. I mean, if you looked at Rocket League RCLS, their land had 200k views. That's more than Pokemon Go has ever had in our lifetime, and more than we probably will ever get, ever. Yeah. Pokemon Go PvP doesn't have a bright future, basically. So the game's pissing you off, and you want to make Legend. There's nothing... Being a Legend isn't really that cool. Seriously, if you went to Valorant, and you became a pro there, any Valorant pro has more exposure, and is far more popular than Pokemon is ever. Valorant has more views, became a top 5 through 10 Twitch game, and Pokemon Go is still in 1K, 2K, which is... still garbage. We're 150. We'll never amount to that. So don't feel like you have to prove anything to anyone. There's probably some other out there that's playing a shooter or whatever that will overtop you and me anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So don't stress over it. One and done is probably good to you. The only reason I'm doing this is because I like doing analysis. That's why I'm still doing these videos. Because I like analyzing stuff and I like playing with my food. And I like the relationships I've built with battling, etc. So that's the only reason why I still do it. Plus I still have a close group of friends that still play. So that's my reason. Plus, I have a pretty cool esports team. Anyways, as I always say, that's my mental health for the day. This is the top 5 teams. And if you want to get to the top 5 teams, all you have to do is go over here, go to top performers, click on it. And then as you see, you're going to go down here. And then we have the Holiday Cup. I hate Charm. I freaking hate Charm. Anyways, as you see here, these are the top 5 teams. 2 of them are unique teams. So someone just made it a different pattern, or they just got used to practicing in that certain way. And then you have... the rest of them, a certain number of people are using, so you should be able, as you see here, it should be fun. If you're planning on using these, that's great. Anyways, again, take care of yourselves, and let's get started. Alright, so team number 5, we got Graveler, Vigoroth, and Trevenant. So literally, all, more than half of these teams have Vigoroth as their save switch. If you watched my last video, yeah, Vigoroth is the best save switch in the freaking Holiday Cup. Well, statistically, in a lot of combinations. Because Body Slam plus counter be oh so P. So, as we go over here, for team number 5, we have AGrav, Vigoroth is your save switch, and Trev closes out. You can kind of do it either one. Trev isn't a bad save switch. The reason why you kind of don't want to save switch into Trev is if they throw their flyer into you. So, Vigoroth, gonna be your save switch for the most part. A for coverage, not a lot of bulk, not a lot of teams in the Holiday Cup. Like I mentioned, if you watch my triple safe switch video, it's not going to have a lot of bulk. However, good safety and consistency. For this team, AGrav is a great lead for its ability to pressure shields, and there's not really a lot of things that resist the rock-type archetype, outside of things like Stunfisk, of course, and Diggersby, so ground types, of course, will give you a hard time, because ground resist. Electric types, double resist, actually, so that's what sucks. But other than that, AGrav overall does a ton of damage, Rock Blast, and Stone Edge pressures very heavily. Now, as you see here, your supporting cast does very well at covering Alolan Graveler's weaknesses or having one or another that can do that. As far as your threat score, this has the lowest threat score I've seen. However, the thing about it is that, yeah, who the heck is going to have a Jumpluff anyway? So, Jumpluff does theoretically beat this entire team, except you don't, like, for Weather Ball and for Vigoroth's Body Slams, it can still do some damage, but Jumpluff is just really bulky, and there's not really, yeah, I've seen like one Jumpluff, literally like one, and you are double weak to ice types, and Frostus is running around, so I don't foresee a lot of Jumpluffs. I have seen Diggersby though, I have seen Trevenant leads, etc. Obstagoon is plenty, so fighters, and especially Vigoroth leads, are plentiful in this cup. So AGrav is still a great lead, don't get me wrong. If you put it with great pressure, etc., it does really well, and against a lot of combinations, it can do really good. That's why it's one of the top leads in the Holiday Cup. Still a really low threat score. The amount of people using this team, it's at 546, so still a pretty decent rating at a pretty high usage rate. It's the second highest used in the top 5, so if you have these and you don't want to build another Mon or any of the top ones like you see over here, this team can work for you. Now, for team number 4, we got Frostless lead. You have Vigoroth as your safe switch, of course, and then you have Stunfisk to close out. Stunfisk is really great because against flyers, like let's see, like Skarmory, I still see Skarmory some thrown in. You can throw Stunfisk into Skarmory and it just locks it in. You can also do really well against fellow electric types. Stunfisk does really well against people that try to use AGrav as a safe switch. Like, if you get the AGrav, you're like, this is clutch. Along with that, the reason why people are using Water Gun Lantern nowadays is because of Stunfisk. If you lock a Spark Lantern into a Stunfisk, it really sucks for you. So that's why you probably see some Water Gun Lanterns running around. The desperation. Anyways, this team is really consistent with damage. Heavy pressure on it. Not a lot of bulk. Stunfisk and Vigoroth and Frostless are super bulky, but Stunfisk can make up for that because it is very tanky. Good coverage and consistency, or great coverage and safety. Frostless is a great lead, able to break shields, and the Frostless 2 shield strat, like I mentioned, is incredibly powerful. If you get the mirror, you can win the mirror outright, or you just ball out or break both of their shields. Like you saw in my triple safe switch team shoutcast, it does very, very well. Even if there's not really anything other than a Snarl Mandibuzz or, like, I would say Shiftry that really threatens Frostless heavily. And even then, like, Frostless is super effective against Shiftry, even against Trevelyan, just because it has Shadow Claw. So there's a lot of ways you can play things out or create some, like, farm down plays. Or there's just a lot of, you could be a little creative. The only issue is Alolan Marowak for Fire Spin. I've seen some of those running around, and they will light you on fire. That or Trev, or Talonflame. Talonflame will light you on fire, which is why you have Stunfisk here. Stunfisk has a really strong matchup against Talonflame because you do resist the burb, but Flame Charge revved up can be very painful. So just be careful. I like pancakes. You like pancakes. I like waffles. We like waffles. If you know that song, we can be best friends. But yes, waffles, pancakes / waffles. I call this the electric maple pancake. It's the one you take off when you ever have one of those like electric waffle makers where you just like, you pour in the batter. You see this all the time in like hotels. You pour the batter and then you flip it over and then you open it and then poof, automatic, like bam. Like automatically done. I travel a lot, so those are like some of my favorite things, and I will always get the waffle / pancakes. Like the waffles, like you pour in the batter and then you flip it over and like, psst. I think I had that once in like Best Western or whatever in Amsterdam, and when I went to like a 4-star hotel when I went to Stockholm, Sweden for the safari, the Sweden safari, way back in the day. So those are the first safaris ever. I went to one of them and it was freaking amazing. God, that was some good food. Lots of good food. As you see here, medium high threat score. This team does really well outside of, like I mentioned, out of Trevenant getting lit on fire. Like, you can have play against it, but it's dangerous. Dark types, of course. Frostless Mirror. Ninetales can charm its way through you. At the same time, it's a little rough on you. Well, for both of you, if it's depends on which it is. If it's Charmtails, you're in trouble. And just Charmers in general, as you see here through Frostless. Still a very powerful team, can break a lot of shields, have a ton of pressure, and there's a lot of ways you can work around different weaknesses. It still has a very low threat score, despite the fact that you see all 4 of these they're kind of running around this meta, but there's still play, and there's ways you can create win conditions out of all of them. So still a very strong team. Stands at 548.2, so a lot of people are actually using this team. And then for team number 3, we got freaking ABB. You know what's funny? Like, one thing that would screw up so many people if you don't create your own teams or anything like that, or just people that just try to create this, like, these, like, trendy gimmick teams like this. If they banned, you can't put the same type of Pokemon on your team, that would switch up so many things and would cause a lot of people to think. They had an actual, like, intricate ban system like Yu-Gi-Oh does, because Yu-Gi-Oh bans, if you got one card that's, like, super OP, like the Yadalock, yes, King of Charmanders has played professional Yu-Gi-Oh before, and God, the Yadalock was super annoying, but you know what? Yes, I'm a huge nerd, but yes. ABB, you got this. Frostless is your safe switch. Alola Ninetales closes out. Some random person made this team, 0.4%, small sample size, does barely well against the other two, as you see here. This team will actually serves to lock in, I would say, Altarias and Stunfisk, or they pray you have Altarias or Stunfisk on the team. And just because of the dual typing, Vigoroth only does neutral damage, and Frostless does resist Body Slam. Against Alola Ninetales, Body Slam does a decent chunk of damage, but just because Powder Snow's counter is 5 Powder Snows and then goes to 4, it'll outpace you in that regard, so just be a little careful. It also utilizes Psyshock instead of Dazzling Gleam, which is viable because there's not a lot of Dark types around here. Well, not a lot of Dark types, and most of the time Weather Ball is enough. So if you're locked into a really bad matchup, it doesn't really matter anyways. And of course, Weather Ball does neutral damage against things like super effective damage from Mandibuzz, neutral damage against Talonflame, and that Weather Ball pacing is just too good. Overall, this team stands as a pretty powerful team, I would say. BCBB, so kind of, it's basically like, this team is literally like kill Altaria. As you see here, this is like kill Altaria. You want them to have an Altaria on the team. Not saying those strategies don't work though. Pretty high threat score though, 651. One Lantern, Water Gun Lantern in particular, will give you incredibly hard time. It'll blast you away and take you down. Ferrothorn is also of concern. I've seen Ferrothorns running around. If you have one Ferrothorn, it will that's why I don't like this. Like, this team is okay, but Ferrothorn basically wipes you out because of the fact that, for one, Mirror Shot against a Alolan Ninetales will wipe it, does so much damage, and even against Frostless. Alolan Graveler, you're effectively walled by Ferrothorn because Steel resists Rock, and of course Electric, you'll resist Volt Switch because of the Electric typing. That's why when I made this team, I just really scratched my head, because I was like, whoever got this probably just got, kind of lucky, because even though this team is statistically good, I just don't like it, because like I said, there's you see this wall of stuff that can kill it. Obstagoon Lead also gives you an incredibly hard time with this team. Alolan Ninetales does do well against it. However, Obstagoon's counters do add up. And if you're not using Charm, you're not really threatening Obstagoon super hard, along with the fact that you don't have Dazzling Gleam. So you can't Hail Mary against Obstagoon. At the same time, you're just going to be doing neutral damage with Powder Snow and Weather Ball anyway. So it's what it is, though. The ABB concept is really brain dead and probably something from Call of Duty. A new gun from Call of Duty, here's my gun setup and this is so broken against meta, gets more views than ABBs would anyways. That's actually true, which is pretty sad. And then the next team we have at team number 2, standing at 0.7. This is the most used out of all the top 5, and it has a really high threat score rating. Or not really high threat score, it has a really great rating of 563. Only 5 above the one above here's, and Frostless, Graveler, Vigoroth. They did not, put that except in, a different order. Yeah. So, yeah. Number 2 team. Yay. Predicted by King of Charmanders just in, just a different order. So, this would be AGrav closing out, and then Vigoroth is your safe switch for this team. A's, DD, DB. Yeah, wait. Yeah, this is the same rating as the team before. Anyways, very good. Very safe team. A lot of coverage. Very glossy, though. This is damage. All we do is damage. Damage all day, no defense. Very little defense, or bulk in general. But this team is very powerful. And I've already kind of went over it already, since, I mentioned, this was, in one of my top teams. So I'm just, scratching my head. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Freaking AGrav. AGrav's a beast. AGrav's a freaking beast. Anyways, as you see here, Trevenant is the only thing that really threatens you. And in the lead in a 2-shield against Frostless, like, you can kind of, like, finesse them and break both shields anyways. Because the thing about it is, in the 2-shield, you have to land a Shadow Ball. Or, yeah, well, you don't really have to land a Shadow Ball, but, like, kind of like, you see how T-Bomb kind of threatens? It's gonna break both shields. So, they can break both shields and just give it up. And give up their lead. And then put a Dark type against Trevenant. I've seen a play before where people are like, okay, break both shields, stack the Frostless, and then what they'll do is they'll send in the Mana Buzz and just farm down your Trevenant. Which is terrible. Because it will sponge Seed Bomb or Shadow Ball damage anyways. So, but this team's still like, there's still a lot of play with a Trevenant in the lead against this team. You lose with Frostless, you say switch with Vigoroth, AGrav Frostless, close out with shields. That's just the basic technicality of this team. Still very powerful. The lowest threat score, 1 point below Team 5. So that's why it's being used the most, because it's really that freaking good. It's insanely powerful and does really well against a lot of combinations. Graveler as a closer with Stone Edge can do heavy damage. Frostless and Vigoroth with shields can possibly just body slam, ball out on your opponent like the Warriors didn't do. Like, no, actually, if you are a Warriors fan, Kuminga went ham. Like, dang, like, he's going to be a future star. And, God, the Warriors' drafting ability, the organization's drafting ability is just amazing. If you're a basketball fan, especially if you're a Warriors fan, it's a good day to be a Warriors fan. Unless you're a Lakers fan. Man, Westbrook took all y'all money. I'm just saying. And the #1 team, I actually faced this team before, except I have some content from before, but there's... Yeah, I think it might show up in the weaknesses, though, so... This team did stand at the most powerful, created by, or sample size by one person, so it squeezed in 5 points above this one, so it's not really that great compared to this one, and statistically, it is the best team, and most powerful team. However, I'm kind of iffy about it, and you'll see why. Stunfisk lead, safe switch and Frostless, close out and Trevenant. C for coverage, C for bulk, B for safety, B for consistency, so it doesn't have a great report card, unfortunately. So it's like Timmy Turner. If you watch the Fairly Odd Parents, at least this team doesn't have a Super F. But there's a Super F because of all your threats that are going to be on this team. And you'll see why shortly. Does well against a lot of combinations. This combination does very well against, I would say, like... Your back row does pretty good against Trevenant, or Vigoroth. Because what happens if they say switch into Vigoroth, you can trap him in a Trevenant because you resist both Bulldoze and you resist both Body Slam. So Trevenant is a trap for Vigoroth, just like how you would use Driplim. Just overall much more powerful, and should have never been released this early because it's a giant meta breaker, and you know, like, it's gonna screw worlds, but yeah. Anyways, as you see here, this team does have a ton of threats, particularly one that I'm gonna create content for. One that I'm gonna create. You see this right here? Yeah, one you can. Yeah, you're gonna see that video soon. Shifty's a beast, and it's like the best anti-meta mon. But for the next 2 days over this weekend, I will be giving you teams, and then I'll be featuring content on amazing anti-meta and other live battles. Y'all wanted more live battles, okay? So I'm gonna give it to you. I'm recording. My phone is very. I don't have a lot of storage in here, and I blame you guys because you're like, King of Charmanders, we want more battles. You ask, you shall receive. But it's pretty nuts. Like, when I'm on wrestling tournaments, all I'm doing is just, like, I'm recording and everything. And some of my kids are actually into PvP. So then, one of my wrestling kids, he's like, he's actually doing, like, Go Battle. So we, like, battled. That was his tournament. And we went, like, 3-2. Like, he called my picks and he was just like, yay, I won against Coach. And I was like, yeah, your coach is pretty dang good. I'm so proud of you. But then again, he has, like, 2,000 Great League battles. So, like, I can tell he's practicing. So... He just needs to get, like, he's also one of our best technical wrestlers, so, like, if he, like, applied that to Poké PvP, he'd be pretty monstrous, so, yeah. Yeah, my wrestling kids are really cool. And when I told them I'm, like, sponsored by Champion and everything, they're like, oh my gosh, our coach is so cool. I'm like, yeah, your coach is cool. He's pretty damn cool. Anyways, besides the fact, this team is pretty cool for the fact, well, if it's a Frostless in the lead, it's going to suck for you because you have to throw your own Frostless. And like I mentioned, if you throw your own Frostless into it, they can kind of trap you or their Trevenant or if they have the Frostless counter in the back. Things like Bibarel or Litleo, if you've seen them, the reason why they're out here is because they hard counter trap Frostless because of the way they trap Frostless. Litleo and Bibarel both resist both the Frostless' of charge moves and their fast moves as well. So it's that's kind of why. So if you have an anti-Frostless team, this team's going to suck. And of course... But on the plus side, you can trap their Vigoroth onto Trevenant. So I'm guessing that's why this team made it to number 1, because of its ability to trap different combinations. And Stunfisk Lead is pretty good for the fact it's able to trap a lot of combinations outside of getting iced up by a Frostless, getting water gun to death by a Lantern, and if you see a freaking Altaria, which Altaria leads are still running around a lot from what I've seen. But statistically, this is the most powerful team with an incredibly high threat score. So if you want to use it, it's statistically good. If not, team number 2 is pretty dang baller because of the fact that it has a higher sample size and only 5 points below the top team right here. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully these combinations do help you out, let you see the meta. I mean, you probably already know Vigoroth is going to be everywhere, like you see here. And in a lot of the top teams, you see Frostlesses, AGravs, and just Stunfisk. Like, a lot of the teams had basically the same mons in different order, with the exception of, like, Team 3, which had Ninetales just randomly sprinkled in there, like Ice Cream. Ice Cream's pretty good, by the way. If you're feeling bad, don't have the tub, though, you know what I mean? You know, like, you can get enough pleasure with just, like, the ice cream cone, or just, like, a scoop or something like that. Like, you know, the gallon thing is great, but, you know, yeah, just, y'all can chill. Which is, you get it, chill, because you're eating ice cream. Anyways, don't listen to King Charmanders. That was a terrible pun. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this does help you out. Again, I'll be releasing a lot of live battle content. Ultra League Remix will be out tomorrow because I'm going to analyze it a little bit, and then, like, I'm going to look at it a little deeper, and then I'll release that video tomorrow. And then for the most of next week, it will just be Holiday Cup or just like live battles for me. And then I'll be getting that PvP masterclass done. So if you really want that, comment below and be like, we want the masterclass already, King of Charmanders. We all know you're good. We all know you're a wizard. We all know you do a whole bunch of different stuff. And I was the only one to break my Open Master League in Season 1 and be my way to victory. I had one of the most unique runs in all time on Season 1. And that's a fact, by the way. But yeah. King of Charmanders is pretty baller, and I made the most consistent top teams out of anybody in the entire world, as far as statistically going on pvpoke.com. But when you have data to back up your resume, rather than, oh, I made something popular in it, you know, it's pretty dang good. I'm just saying. Yeah. But if you want that, I'll expedite it below, but I'll have a lot more time to work on that because my therapist workload kind of died down a little bit, which is great. I can chill out, but I'm not really chilling out because I love y'all, and I want to create content. This is the only reason I like doing this. Creating videos helps me be more articulate when I do therapy. Unless they're silent, then it's like, you're like, what's going on? You're silent. Must look at the cues and stuff. Anyways, do me a huge favor. Please like and subscribe. It's totally free. We're almost at 3K subs, so I didn't impress it. It was a goal for the end of the year, but I honestly didn't expect to be at 3K by the end of 2021, so I really appreciate y'all. Like I mentioned, it's totally free. Hopefully you guys are doing well in Go Battle League. Don't worry about it. There's nothing other than the Lysandra pose around. So then, like, have some fun. There's still plenty of the season to go around anyway. So if your goal is Legend, you got plenty of time to play around. Good luck in your Go Battle League sets. Really appreciate my current subscribers. And I will see you guys on the next video.